Have you ever thought about kissing the baptismal font? You know, the priest kisses the altar at the beginning of Mass and the gospel after the gospel is proclaimed, but never seen anyone kiss a baptismal font. But I have heard of one, and I'll share about that in a minute. Wouldn't it be something if a student who was caught cheating or fighting in school was suspended for merely a half a day, and the teacher who caught the student would be suspended for a week, taking the penalty themselves? Or the owner of a shop catching a shoplifter. The shoplifter goes to jail for 1 day, and the owner of the store fills out the sentence of a full month. That would be really striking. Something would be turned upside down. Well, Jesus does that. Jesus does that. He suffers the penalty for us. In today's gospel, he's cleansing the temple. Now, sometimes we think Jesus is a very nice guy, gentle, and he is gentle and nice guy. But today's gospel, he's very forceful. He's very bold. And he's not attacking the people, but he is attacking sin. And he is attacking the darkness and the confusion that flow from it. And so he goes into the temple, and this is like right in your face. This is not hidden. And he takes a whip, actually cords and makes a whip, and he drives out, only in John's gospel it says large cattle, sheep, goats, overturns money changers' tables. And then he says, "Quit making my Father's house a prayer, a den of thieves." And then he walked away saying, "Have a good meal tonight. Hope you do well." That was going to get a lot of attention. That's going to turn a lot of heads. There's going to be a big reaction. Well, one thing that's really, I was meditating on this gospel and doing a little writing on it, and I just found hidden in the text something really stunning. Everything that Jesus did and used to purify the temple, he suffered. So in the Greek, the name for the whip, the cord that he used, that whip, it's flagellon. Sometimes you've heard of flagellation maybe, but flagellon, if you go to Matthew's gospel, when Herod has him whipped, it's flagellon. The whip he uses would be the whip of his scourging. He overturns money changers' tables. He himself is sold for 30 pieces of silver. And those pieces of coins were not just tossed on the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is 3 football fields long. It's a large mass area. But the center of it is a different Greek word, neom. It's the Holy of Holies. And that's actually where the coins were thrown when Judas betrayed him. And all of the sheep and the cattle and the goats that were cast out, he would become the lamb of sacrifice. So you see, what it took to cleanse the temple, he actually would suffer. He would take it on himself. He's not just chastising us from a distance and saying, "Quit sinning, you ruthless people." But actually, he's saying, "I will suffer the cost of your cleansing." He doesn't just want to cleanse the temple. And by the way, the righteous anger he had was under control, because even though he turned over money changers' tables, when he got to the doves, he didn't just turn it over and send them flying. The money changers could collect their coins, but those with the doves, he just instructed them, "Take these out of here." He was still under control. Now he wants to cleanse our temple. The body and soul of our temple, we become members of the body of Christ. And how are we cleansed? Brothers and sisters, how are you and I cleansed? The first place we're cleansed is in baptism. I asked you at the beginning, would you ever consider kissing the baptismal font? I kiss the altar, and the Eucharist cleanses us. There's a little prayer the priest prays after he reads the gospel. The little prayer he says silently is, "May the words of the gospel wipe away my sins." The gospel wipes away sins. But the baptismal font is where it begins. That's where your cleansing started. Saint Bakita, Josephine Bakita, she's from Sudan, and she was taken into slavery. Her whole family was kidnapped. And it's a horrendous story. 5 different slave owners would beat her and treat her horribly, until a Michieli family from Italy treated her with dignity. And she was put in charge of their daughter, and after they purchased a business hotel in the Red Sea, they let her stay with the daughter with the Canossian sisters. And the Canossian sisters taught her about Jesus. They were the first ones to teach her. She joined those Canossian sisters, and she was baptized at the age of 21. And from that day forward, every time she passed the baptismal font, she kissed it, because she was so grateful for that gift. We take it for granted. I take it for granted. I pass by that baptismal font, and then I hear this story and I think, wow, she was so humble. She had this love for Jesus and what he did for her in the baptismal cleansing waters. So Jesus wants to cleanse our temple through baptism, through confession, through the reading of the gospel, through almsgiving, through the Eucharist. Let's run towards these avenues of cleansing.